If you'd like to, please subscribe. It helps me out a lot. I post every Wednesday.
Hi everyone, my name is Catherine and thank you so much for clicking on this video. I have made a part 1 to travel mistakes to avoid, which I have already uploaded and you can watch. It'll be linked down below. This is now part 2 because as I was making this list, I knew that I had a lot of travel mistakes to avoid because I have done them myself, and I didn't want to cut any out because they can, they will be beneficial to travelers. And so I just decided to make a part 2. So this is part 2 and let's just get straight into it. Avoid short layovers when flying. And I definitely have learned this recently. I've had plenty of experiences where I've been able to make my short layovers and some of them where I wasn't as lucky. So last year when I was coming home from Quito, Ecuador, and I was traveling to Seattle, Washington, I had to connect through Miami, Florida. And my flight layover, I think was only like an hour and a half. I don't remember specifically, but it was quite tight. And I had to go through customs, I had to pick up my checked bags and I had to recheck them. And of course, my flight in Quito was delayed. So when I got to the Miami airport, I think I had maybe an hour, if that. And I ended up missing my flight, and so did many other people on the tour that I was on. So at least I had friends at the airport to hang out with, but that was also during the time when like everyone was having horrible flight experiences and all these flights in the US were getting delayed or postponed or whatever it may be. I was kind of just in the majority with people, and sometimes you just can't avoid if there's strikes going on at the airlines or whatever it may be. But for the most part, I would say give yourself at least 3 hours of a layover for international flights. If you have a layover in a new country, if you have to recheck a checked bag and you have to wait to pick it up at the carousels and you have to go through customs, it's just not a fun situation when you're stressed and strapped for time and you're in a city that you're only laying over in, so you don't have necessarily accommodation or people that in that area that you can go to if you need to spend the night somewhere. And in general, I think an hour and a half for domestic is like the least I would ideally do. I would definitely be stressed for an hour, but preferably 2 hours, I would say, for domestic and at least 3 hours for international. Make copies of your passport, important itinerary information, contact information, your driver's license, all of the important things, to make copies of them just in case you lose something or your phone's not working, if it's on your phone, itinerary or whatever, and to just have backups of things and have them be on your carry-on bags. Another thing going off of research is to not only research what you want to do and what there is to do in the country you're going to, but to also research local customs and just know what to expect when you get into the country and to be a respectful traveler, because you are representing, say if you are American, you are representing Americans. Another example is when I was at Semester at Sea and we went to India. Semester at Sea does a good job of doing basically like pre-ports where they will talk about the logistics of like when the ship is going into the country and leaving and this and that. But another one is just about the culture and what to expect going into that country. And India is more conservative, so they said to wear pants or skirts longer than the knees and to cover your shoulders. And I got off the ship in India and guess what I saw? A bunch of girls from Semester at Sea in spaghetti strapped tank tops and short shorts. And I'm just like, they told you to cover up. And I understand like being able to wear what you want, but just when it comes to other more conservative countries, I think it's just best to follow suit when it comes to things like that and just being more conservative. Again, it doesn't attract as much attention to you and potentially be just safer as well. And next, of course, is to be safe, which is obvious, but to really be aware of your surroundings when you're traveling abroad, especially if you're solo traveling and especially if you are a female, and to avoid going out at night in these situations, especially looking at the country that you're going at. For example, when I was in South Africa, I was told to never go out at night in any situation. It was just too dangerous, and to never be alone in South Africa. We were in Cape Town and that was considered to be the most dangerous country that I was going to on my semester at sea study abroad trip. So to never be alone and to just not be out at night ever, which I followed suit because I do not want to risk that. So just know, again, what are things that you should keep in mind in this country and things you can do to keep yourself safe. And generally, as a solo female traveler, I would not go out at night anywhere, really, to be honest. And when it comes to also going out, if you decide to be in a group or whatever it may be, to be mindful with your intoxication levels. And I would say when you're in an unfamiliar area, to just be very mindful of how much you're drinking. Just make sure that you are still aware of your surroundings, because I would say the stories I've heard, whether it's from semester at sea or EF ultimate break, etc., over 90% of those stories that something bad has happened to someone, some kind of an accident, whether it be like minor or even fatal, almost all of them involved the person being intoxicated. So just be extremely careful when it comes to drinking abroad. Next is to have unrealistic expectations while traveling. Traveling is incredible. It is incredible. It is my favorite thing to do in the world. That's why I make these videos. But sometimes we might have super unrealistic expectations, and just know that all the things you experience at home that might be annoying or frustrating or whatever it may be can very much happen abroad. And when being abroad, you might see the glamorous photos of people, but you might not realize that they had to wake up at 5 a.m. as soon as the sun was up to avoid all the crowds to get a photo without the crowds. Or just having to deal with being in an unfamiliar area and being anxious, or being on your feet all day and being exhausted, or having to lug your suitcase around everywhere, like a suitcase with wheels on cobblestones. That is the worst. Just being sweaty from all of the physical activities and not being in the comfort of your own home, having to share rooms in hostels and things like that. Traveling definitely has its pros and cons, and you will be outside of your comfort zone. So just to be aware and have more realistic expectations. Now, going back to footwear is to bring comfortable footwear. Bring reliable, comfortable, athletic sneakers. Those are my go-to. It is so much better to be comfortable and safe, to be honest. I don't know if that's the right word, but I've definitely hurt my feet in the past from not wearing correct shoe wear, and that is much better than having that over cute shoes, especially when you're packing and you're wanting it to be light. Shoes take up so much space. Another story is when I was in Japan again, and I wore these boots. They were like combat boots, and they were really comfortable actually. I've never had any issues with them, but I'd also never worn them for like 15 hours a day, and I'm walking or standing nonstop. I've just worn them when I was home, where I would like walk around, then go in my car and drive somewhere, walk around, go in my car, things like that. So those were reliable in a more kind of light day where I wasn't doing so much standing and walking. But when it came to Japan, once it was like day 2 or 3, it was horrible. So I just really recommend for you to wear comfortable, reliable, like athletic exercise sneakers and shoes like that. Next is animal welfare. This has been talked about a lot more in the more recent years, which is amazing. But just if you're doing any kind of activities that involves animals, to do your research ahead of time and see if you can learn whether or not they are being kind and ethical to their animals. A lot of times there may be some kind of certifications or websites you can go through, but just to know that you're not putting your money towards a tour company or organization that is being unethical to their animals, taking advantage of their animals for profit. And I'm sure in the past I probably didn't do certain research, like for example, on semester at sea, we had a tour where we got to ride elephants in India. And was that ethical? Like, I don't know, probably not, but things like that. And I'm pretty sure semester at sea stopped doing that actually, because those concerns have been brought up since then. This was back in 2016. But just to be mindful that you are not contributing to any organization that is unethical to animals, especially because I love animals so much, and I just want them all to have the best happy lives ever, because they deserve it. They really do. And next is to bring snacks with you on the flight. So as you probably know, airplane snacks are extremely ridiculously overpriced because they can get away with it. Because if you're going on a flight and you want a snack, you literally have no other choice because you can't leave the airport. You've gone through TSA, you have a flight. So just to bring snacks ahead of time, and of course like cords or chargers or whatever it may be. Basically, if you're buying something like that at an airport, it's because you forgot and you're kind of desperate. But just when it comes to snacks, make sure you pack some. Thank you all so much for watching part 2 to travel mistakes to avoid. I hope you have learned some good things, and let me know if you have any of your own travel mistakes that I may have missed to avoid, because there are probably endless amounts of them and I'm sure I did not get all of them for sure. So let me know, and I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're seeing this, and I hope to see you in a future video of mine. Bye!